Alright, it is time for another DDO update. Quite a bit has happened since we last met, that is for sure. So this video is going to shake down in two parts. First, I'll go through where we're at, how I've been playing, and feeling about the game, and all that good stuff. Then, dare I say, we have to talk about a bit of DDO drama, which is a phrase I never thought I would say, but it has kind of taken over the game, so we're gonna talk about it. As for the housekeeping, we have officially reached level 20. And I'm still just a druid. Yes, I know I said in the last episode that I was going to multi-class, and I asked around for advice, both from you wonderful viewers and on boards like Reddit, and I received a ton of great responses, but the general sense that I got was that I had probably gone a bit too far in order for multi-classing into something like fighter or barbarian or even rogue to have been worth it. A lot of multi-classing seems to be done around level 15, so 15 levels in druid and 5 in something else, whereas I was at level 17 druid because I wanted 9th level spells. Because of that, it just seemed like the returns I would get from multi-classing were pretty muted. So considering I also had people tell me that pure druid is also really good, I just decided to stick with that. I'm sorry if anyone is disappointed, but I'm fine with it. I've quite enjoyed playing as more of a caster anyway. Right now I tend to take fire elemental form with a flame blade and just go to work. It's probably for the better as well, because being outfitted this way means I can deal with groups of enemies fairly well. Doming mobs with my 4 or 5 strongest spells at once is pretty fun, I must admit. I think part of the reason why I wanted to multi-class was because I sort of felt like I had to. Part of the great thing about 3rd edition is that you can create truly unique and powerful builds, assuming you know what levels to take in what classes at what time, and historically, pure druid usually isn't that good, but it's working for me and I'm having fun, so that's what matters, I guess. I think part of what I've come to appreciate about just playing as a druid, not necessarily min-maxing or power gaming or anything like that, is that it's simple to play. Loath as I am to admit it, I can kind of get overwhelmed by MMOs. Like, I can't be that guy that has 14 different skill bars on the screen and 12 different weapon and spell loadouts. I can barely remember to make sure that my passive abilities are ticked on, for Christ's sake, so it just, being able to sort of have a game plan that I can stick to and roll with just works better for me. I have thoroughly enjoyed learning a bit about the more complex and fine-tuned builds and things that people do more recently. However, I find it almost like watching your favorite musician play and just coming to peace with the fact that you'll never be able to do anything close to that. That being said, now that I'm locked in with a build, it does mean I need to get my hands on some more specialized spellcasting items. Right now I've got a ton of items boosting my stats. My 6 stat chart is truly a thing of beauty, but I could definitely use some spell power and whatnot. I've been running through a lot of content that was added through the Menace of the Underdark expansion recently. It's filled me with a sense of joy that I didn't really expect. Remember, I purchased the Underdark expansion some 15 years ago or whatever it was, but I never actually got to play the content because I never got a character to a high enough level to do so. So finally getting the chance to see it all, to explore places like Evening Star, hang out with Elminster, all that stuff, it's been profoundly cool. Definitely a sort of full circle moment, even if there's still a lot I haven't seen. That, with reaching level 20, it's an episode of Milestones here today. I'll say as well, I don't know if it's because I'm getting truly into some later game content, or maybe it has to do with the fact that I've been questing through expansion and pack editions recently, but I've been really enjoying some of the missions themselves. I like playing the game no matter what, of course, but something about the last few quests has really tickled my fancy. They're detailed, have fun side quests, and the rewards have been great. Hell, I even enjoyed exploring the Wayloon Prison free roam area, which, more than anything, just made me realize I haven't really enjoyed exploring many others. It's a very, very welcome surprise that even the more general parts of the gameplay can still get something out of me despite how long I've been playing. To the best of my knowledge, I have played very little newer content, and by that I mean stuff that has been released over the past few years. When it comes to the final video, I can't wait to compare the content depending on when it's been released. There aren't many games, ever, that have given us content over such a wide stretch of time, so I don't know, I just find it thoroughly fascinating. That's enough about the game itself, though. Now we must touch upon the drama that has sadly cast a shadow upon this wonderful game over the past 2 weeks or so. Now, originally I had a long, drawn-out explanation and undressing of everything that's happened written up, but if I'm being honest, it didn't feel authentic. And it felt fake because, frankly, I don't have enough skin in the game to get that mad about it on my own accord, because I was not too terribly affected by all of this. While I assume most anyone interested enough to watch this video is already keenly aware, but for those of you that might be uninitiated, back in June, Standing Stone announced that the game would be shifting over to all 64-bit servers in the near future. Considering episode 2 of these updates spent a good amount of time decrying how the game was somehow still running off 32-bit hardware, this is unquestionably a good thing. Theoretically, it should make the game run faster, give the developers better tools to work with, and personally, I think the server consolidation from 8 down to 4 is probably good for the game at this point. Already I've seen more players in town areas and whatnot, everything just feels more alive as a whole. The problem with this entire situation is how Standing Stone decided to communicate this information and honestly seemed to just not be all that interested in actually doing their job. I have never, for a modern product or game, seen a system or required sequence of events, primarily on the part of the player, so unbelievably torturous and unnecessarily complicated. From clearing items to typing literal command prompts into the in-game chat to creating new characters just to delete them in order to reserve names, to having to redeem codes in the store just to make sure players have enough bank and character slots to actually do all of this, is simply ridiculous. I understand, as I'm sure most other players do, and personally I consider myself a very understanding individual when it comes to the plight of game developers, but if this is what it takes to get this process done in the game's current form and/or framework, then I'm sorry, but it needs to be postponed and you need to write up some new code or whatever else is required in order to streamline it. I say that as someone that had about as easy a time as one likely could with this process. I only have one character I care about, I don't have a bunch of reincarnation stuff or guild content to worry about, I literally had to go in, do all the still stupid stuff to actually initiate the transfer, and then wait for it to finally go through about a day later. I'm not frustrated and disappointed over all of this on my own accord, but rather on behalf of everyone else that no doubt had a much tougher time with this and still is, at least when I'm recording this video. Announcing this huge event through an overly long, convoluted article like it's an old-school twit-longer is unacceptable. The amount of onus that was foisted onto the players to get this all right is unacceptable. Commencing with the transfer with known bugs, including some that would literally lock players out of their characters if they didn't know about them, and attempting to hand-wave it by proclaiming that you're working on a fix, is unacceptable. The fact that there were fan-made video guides about how to carry out the transfer before there was an official one is unacceptable. Not having your ducks in a row to the point that you have to cancel everything and push the date after it had started because the system goddamn breaks a few hours in, the solution of which being to put even more responsibility onto the player in order to make things work properly, is unacceptable. Continuing to peddle your paid shop content and sales in the midst of all this, while the game was literally outright impossible to play for most people, is unacceptable. The fact that the servers are still, both old and new, a laggy mess to the point of unplayability about 2 weeks later, believe me, it was like pulling teeth getting footage for this video, is unacceptable. It can't always be that the game is old. It can't always be that you're working on things. It can't always be that something unforeseen came up. If you want to keep releasing content and asking people to spend their money on this game, then at some point you have to act like the AAA game studio that you are. Because people love and care about this game. The amount of people expressing their dismay online because they were afraid of losing their characters or because they had taken a day off work only for you to, again, pull the rug out from under everyone and call off the transfers was seriously depressing. I don't think anyone was expecting this to be perfect, but my God, I'm not sure you did anything right throughout this. I hate flaunting my degree like a college-educated brat, but I think my holding of said degree makes me just a tiny bit qualified to say that communications are only so difficult if you choose to make them so. The player base as a whole deserved better. You know how hard it is to score an own goal in a situation like this? Hey, we're massively upgrading the game systems. Surely this can't go wrong. I have tried my best, consciously, to keep an open mind to the developers and cycles around this game. Of course, I've seen some of the discourse online and whatnot, but I don't believe it's fair to be impressed upon so wholly by those that have been playing much longer than me, and frankly, some of the complaints I've seen over the past 18 months are, as one can expect, a bit silly in nature. In this case, the expectations were not. People literally just wanted the process and game to work to a reasonable degree, and to so massively whiff on hitting those expectations is a failure of astounding proportion. I hope for the sake of my blood pressure, I'm not given reason to go on a tirade like this in the future.